Hello friends, welcome to this online lecture series of game theory. It's a part of a series of operations research uh, chapters, different chapters. One of the chapter is game theory. So let's look into the third part of this game theory chapter. So in this chapter, we are going to look into the introduction of the algebraic method, different types of examples of algebraic method. Then we will look into arithmetic method, and then we'll look into the examples of algebraic method. So let's start with the algebraic method. But before that, we will look into the algorithms and the flow chart of how do we solve these kind of problems in game theory. So if you start with the payoff matrix, you will find out the game theory where you have the saddle points. If you have the saddle points, you will definitely find out the value of the game. But if the game does not have the saddle point, then what will you do? You will find out the value of the game with the help of the dominance principle. Now you will try to reduce the matrix to 2 cross 2 matrix so that you can find out the value of game with the help of the algebraic or arithmetic method. But if you have the m cross 2 or n cross 2 or 2 cross n, then what will you do? You will try to find out the value of the game with the help of graphical method. Clear? Now, if that is not the case, then finally you can solve the problem with the help of the linear programming problem. So in this way, this flow chart will look into the different types of methods to solve the problems based on the game theory, right? So these are the proper methodologies. So let's start into the algebraic method. Now again, decision making environment is there. We have already discussed this kind of environment, right, in previous flow chart, where you have pure strategies. Obviously you will have the saddle point definitely, but if there is no saddle point, then if there is 2 cross 2 matrix, then you will try to find out the solution with the help of the algebraic or arithmetic method. But if it is not the case, if you have m cross 2 or 2 cross n matrix, then you will try to find out the value of them with the help of graphical method. But again, all of this is not the case, then you will try to find out the value of game with the help of linear programming problem. So let's look into one of the popular method called algebraic method. So what do you do in this method? It is again without saddle point. Definitely if there is saddle point, then there is no point of going into this method. You will easily find out value of the game. Clear? Next, what will you do? Let's look into an example. Right here, all the different types of methodologies are given here, but we will try to solve an example so that you can easily understand. So here 2 cross 2 matrix is given, right? Obviously this method is applied to the 2 cross 2 matrix, right? So here one example is given, 2 cross 2 matrix, where two players are two players are given. The course of actions of two players are given, right? Now if you see here horizontally, right here, if you horizontally and vertically, if 5p1 plus 3p2 is equal to value of game first, right? What we here is the value of the game. 2p1 plus 4p2 is equal to value of the game, and again p1 plus p2 is equal to 1, which is the probability of both the events, and together they will constitute the total probability, which is 1. Here now next, in the same way, so once we put, so three equations are then three unknowns are there, sorry, p1 p2 and value of the game. So obviously you will find out the p1 p2 and value of the game, which has come out to be 1 by 4, 3 by 4 and 7 by 2. Clear? Now in the same way, for the q, or you can say the player b, you will find out the value of the game. Here obviously you will get 5 q1 plus 2 q2, which is equal to value of the game. Here, and here if you see 3p1 plus 4, sorry, 3q1 plus 4q2 is equal to value of the game, and q1 plus q2 again constitute equal to 1, which is value of the game, which is probability, total probability, right? So again three equations are there and three unknowns are there, q1 q2 and value of game, right? So you put these values into the equations and you will find out q1 q2 and value of game. So what is q1 q2 and value of game? It has come out to be 1 by 2, q2 is come out to be 1 by 2 and value of the game is 7 by 2. So what is the strategy for player b? 1 by 2 1 by 2 again, so that it will get minimize the expected game by 7 by 2. In the same way for player a, it is 1 by 4 and 3 by 4 course of action in such a way that the value of game, he will try to maximize the expected payoff with the value of game of 7 by 2. So A on one side is the maximizing player and B on the other side is the minimizing player. What A is trying to do, A is trying to maximize the profit, right? And B on the other side is going to minimize the loss. Clear? So in this way, excuse me, the players are going to compete in game theory examples. Best example here is given of algebraic method. So in this way you will solve the algebraic method. Very easy to solve, but it is only for 2 cross 2 matrix only. Remember this thing. Now next method is arithmetic method, or you can say it is also known as the oddments method, right? Again, it is also known as shortcut method. Very easy method. You have to follow certain algorithm in such a way that you will finally arrive at the value of game. But again, remember that different method is there. This is totally different method, but the answer you will get is same as the algebraic method. It is up to you to solve with the help of algebraic method in the exam, or with the help of arithmetic or the oddments method, also known as shortcut method, right? Here the algorithm is given. So what are the steps? The first step is to, in the first row you will find out the difference, right? For 2 cross 2 matrix you will find out the difference between two values and you will write down in the second row. In the same way, for the second row you will find out the difference and you will put down the absolute values of the difference in the first row. You will follow the same procedure for the column as well. In the column you will find out the difference of two values and you will put into the second column the absolute value. In the same way, for the second column you will find out the difference and you will write down the absolute value into the first column, right? You will neglect the negative sign, remember this. Now what you will do, you will try to find out the relative frequencies, or you can see the probabilities by adding both of them, and then you will divide that values to the individual values, which is the absolute values you found out. Clear? Now here one example is given so that you can easily understand this methodology. Clear? So first of all, if you see here 2 cross 2 matrix is given, but the problem is you cannot find out the value of game because there is no saddle point, so you have to come up to this method called as arithmetic method. So let's try to find out. So here, if you see here, 2 and minus 1 is given, right? So you will find out the difference. So what is the difference? 3 is the difference. So absolute value 3 you have written here at the bottom. Here, in the same way, in the second row, you will find out the difference. The difference is 1 and you will write down the absolute value. Here, you have to remember this, the absolute value is 1, right? Now what is 1 plus 3? 1 plus 3 is 4. So here you will write 3 by 4 and here you will write 1 by 4. Clear? This is for the row operations. Clear? In the same way, you will find out the column operations as well. You will do the same process into the column operations. So let's try to find out into the column operations. So here in the column, you will try to find out the difference 2 minus minus 1, which is equal to 3, right? In the same way, in the second column, you will find out the difference minus 1 minus 0. Again, you will get 1. So the absolute value is 1, right? Here the absolute value is 3. So 1 plus 3 is 4. You will divide it with the individual values 1 by 4 and 3 by 4. So in this way, you have found out the individual probabilities, you can say, or as well as the, you will find out the value of game. How do you find out the value of game here? So using A's oddments, see this A's oddments, how do you find out? 2 into 1 by 4, this 2 into 1 by 4, right? Into minus 1 into 3 by 4, which has come out to be 1 by 4. Here in the same way, minus 1 by 4, minus a 1 into 1 by 4 here, into 0 into 3 by 4, which is come out to be 1 by 4. Clear? So what is the player A which will play A1? Again it is coming out to be 1 by 4, which is minus 1 by 4. For A2 it is minus 1 by 4. Therefore for the optimum strategy of player A, it is coming out to be 1 by 4 and 3 by 4. For the B it is 1 by 4, 3 by 4, and the value of game is minus 1 by 4. Now if you solve the same problem with the help of algebraic method, you will arrive at the same answer. Here it's up to you in the exam. Whichever method is suitable to you, you can apply that method and you can solve the problems. Here, okay, and at the end of this lecture, we will try to revise what we have learned today. We have tried to learn about the algebraic method and arithmetic method, right? before that, we have looked into the flow chart, or you can say the algorithm, where you can easily find out the solution, or you can say the value of game with the help of different method. So let's revise those algorithms which we discussed before. So previously we tried to find out minimax and maximin, right? If the minimax and maximin both are equal, then you have found out the saddle point in the given matrix, right? If and saddle point is equal to the value of game. But if that is not the case, then you will try to reduce the matrix with the help of dominance principle. Now, once you reduce the matrix with the help of dominance principle, which is 2 cross 2 matrix, you can easily apply the methods which we have discussed in this lecture. Which two methods are they? They are the algebraic method and the oddments method or arithmetic method. You can also say it as a shortcut method. Very easy to apply, right? But if again you cannot reduce it to 2 cross 2 matrix, right? There are two cases. The first case you have is m cross 2 or 2 cross n matrix, or you can say you have multiple rows and 2 columns, or you have multiple columns and 2 rows. In such a case, you can easily apply this method called graphical method. Remember this thing, right? Graphical method is only applied with m cross 2 or 2 cross n matrix. Clear? Again, you might be thinking that if again it is not the case, then what will we do? Right? In that case, your final attempt will be to use the linear programming problem, which is not in your syllabus. Here, up to graphical method is in your syllabus. So in next lecture, we are going to discuss in detail about the graphical method. But before that, what we discussed today, algebraic method, right? What we did in algebraic method, we tried to find out the values oddments of A and B by putting those values into P1 and P2. We found out three equations. We put into three equations. We found out P1, P2 and value of game. In the same way for B oddments, we found out Q1, Q2 and value of game. Here the answer is almost same for value of game, but their strategies are different. For A it is a maximizing player and B is the minimizing player. Clear? Now again we have different method to solve the same problem, 2 cross 2 matrix, which is arithmetic method. Now what we did in arithmetic method, we try to find out the difference of the first row and we try to write down the difference, the absolute value of difference in the second row. Or you can say we put down the new column and we write down those values in the that column. In the same way, in the second row, we found out the difference. We wrote the absolute value into the first column, which we just made, right? Next, what we did, we repeated the same process in the column as well. We found out the difference of first column and wrote the absolute value of that value into the second column, which we just made, right? In the same way, we did the same process for the second column. We found out the difference and wrote the absolute value into the first column, right? Now, what is the next step? We try to find out the probability, relative frequency. How do we find out? We just add those values in row wise and column wise and try to divide the individual values with that summation. So what we found out? We found out the probability, relative frequency of that oddment, right? Relative to player A and player B. So in this way, we can find out the oddments of player A relative frequencies and oddments of B and their relative frequencies. Now, what good thing is to remember that whatever method you will apply, algebraic method or arithmetic method, in both the case you are going to arrive at the same solution. So remember in exam, whichever uh, method you are comfortable with, you can apply that method. Means which is easy for you to solve, you can apply that method and you can easily solve the problem. In case of graphical method, what we are going to do, we are going to reduce the matrix with the help of graphical method to 2 cross 2 matrix, right? Once we get the 2 cross 2 matrix, we can easily apply the algebraic method or shortcut method or oddments method, right? So in next lecture, what we are going to discuss, we are going to discuss in detail about this graphical method. You are going to focus on how do you solve this m cross 2 or 2 cross n matrix in such a way that you can easily reduce that given matrix to 2 cross 2 matrix and finally you can arrive at the solution, or you can say the value of game. So remember, always remember that algorithm. So how do you approach the problem? You will try to first of all find out the saddle point. If there is a saddle point, then there is no point going further. You have found out the value of game and strategy. But if that is not the case, then you go further and find out. You will find out, or you reduce the matrix with the help of dominance principle, right? If that is not the case, then you will try to find out the value of game with the help of graphical method, right? If you have 2 cross 2 matrix, then you will solve with the help of algebraic method or Oddmans method. And again, all of this is not the case, then you will solve the problem with the help of linear programming problem. So in this way, we have discussed different methods to solve the game theory problems, right? So in next lecture, we will meet with the new method called graphical method. Till then, goodbye. Thank you.